Microsoft has finally lifted the curtain on Flight Simulator 2020, and with the new Insider program, they've shown off 2 brand new screenshots and 5 mini videos, as well as their roadmap. Stay tuned to find out exactly what they had to say. So let's start with the first screenshot, titled "In the Weeds." It appears that this screenshot was taken in the Alps around Europe. The luscious green mountains with snowy peaks give us a look at how these areas will be represented in the new sim. We can see some really cool features in this screenshot. First is the autogen. As we zoom in close, we can see that there are hundreds of trees placed in the mountains which appear to be the autogen itself. The density of this autogen is significantly more than we've seen in either Prepared or X-Plane up until this point. Towards the back of the shot, you're going to see a small lake with a nice bright blue, and as well as small mountain trails and roads curving around the base of the taller terrain. You'll also see some cloud shadows on the left here, compared to on the right where there's clearly gaps in the cloud coverage. Now if we zoom into the bottom left, we're going to see what appears to be some kind of car park. The screenshot doesn't really give us that much detail to make out exactly how much this car park will be detailed. Now, the money shot here is the grass. Each blade of grass has been represented. From the static image, we cannot tell if it's a 2D image with alpha texturing or a 3D model, nor do we know if it will react to weather. We do hope that during rain, these grass textures will appear more damp, or if there is wind, then it will start to react in the current wind direction. It'd also be cool if helicopters and other aircraft affected the grass itself. We also believe that this could be one of the first shots of land class being used to represent an area within the flight sim. This clearly isn't the same photo imagery that we've seen in previous trailers or screenshots. Let's start by taking our eyes to the left, and we'll see that the sun is clearly reflecting sunlight on the top of these clouds. This is the first time we've ever seen something like this truly remarkable in the sim. It really gives that impression of climbing through the clouds. Now if we go to the right, we'll see that the clouds are slightly darker, and this is because there isn't as much light hitting the actual 3D clouds themselves. The wing itself is of a DA40, and if you look towards the tip of the aircraft, you'll also see that the cloud and environment is reflected off of the wing. The sun is also glistening on the leading edge. Now if we move our eyes down towards the bottom right, we'll start to see night lighting. Now it's quite faint, but there is clear vector work going on here, with street lights seeming to follow road-like patterns. What's also interesting to note is the different textures used for different lights on different types of roads. The busier roads, such as highways, they clearly have brighter lights, whereas the smaller street-like roads have those slightly darker ones. So let's take a closer look at one of the videos that was shared, in particular the one not shared on the Insider page. This is a camera panning slowly very across a Cessna Caravan aircraft, and there are a few things worth pointing out here. The first thing to note is the sun shining on each rivet of the aircraft on the elevator. Where each bump is raised, the sun is hitting them to create this orange tainted glow, and it looks really nice. The other cool thing on this aircraft is how the windows are reflective of the aircraft and what's going on. As we see the flaps go up and down, we can see the action reflected in the window itself. The other thing I wanted to point out is the detail in the runway itself. We can clearly see runway markings with dirt and mud all over them, and also we can see that there's a blinking strobe light as well. So moving on to the Insider only videos, let's start by taking a look at this wonderful time lapse of the clouds in the simulator. The footage was taken from a May 2019 build of Flight Sim 2020, and we can see that the clouds are forming and disappearing in real time as they move across the sky. There's no popping and no random disappearing of the clouds, but they are actually moving across the sky in a very lifelike fashion. This video has obviously been sped up to show off the effects. It's also great to see how cloud shadows impact the environment down below, with them sweeping across the desert landscape. The way the sun hits the ground also creates this really nice haze-like effect. Also, I'm really liking how the sun creates this glistening effect on the river just down below. The next video I want to show off is the A320 Neo flying over the skies of Strasbourg. This footage was taken from a February/March 2019 build of Flight Sim 2020. In some of the more congested areas, which we can see here, there are some trees sprawling into the river itself. The blending appears to be difficult to get right, which looks to be at a fixed altitude to everything else based on the GIS data. Some of the blending needs to be established a little bit more so it doesn't sink into some of the vector data. This won't be noticeable whilst flying high, but may be more apparent during approach or low VFR flying. Again, this is very much pre-alpha stuff, so changes are more likely to happen. So let's slow the footage down and let's have a look at some of the other details that you may find in Strasbourg. So zooming in, we immediately see that there are plenty of buildings all replicated here in the scenery. This is clearly one of Microsoft's focus cities using the Bing data. There are houses, buildings, fields, train depots, and so much more in this area, including roads, as well as those rivers that I mentioned earlier. If we zoom in on the A320neo itself, we can see that it's painted in the Airbus house livery and it includes a range of smaller details such as the emergency exit markings and decals on the engines. Also, take note of the fact the sun is reflecting off of the fuselage, particularly towards the front of the aircraft. Now this was one of the only videos that Microsoft released with sound, so let's take a listen to the Airbus A320neo in Microsoft's Flight Sim 2020. Moving away from the busy city, Microsoft then showed off new footage of how large bodies of water will be represented in the sim. This footage was captured in May 2019 in the Arcachon area. Now apologies if I did pronounce that incorrectly. Now the first thing I noticed was just how much colour variation there was in between sections of the water. The further you're away from the mainland, the darker the blue became. You can also notice plenty of reefs and sand dunes throughout. We also did notice that there were some clouds left in the photo scenery, and this boat over here appears to be static as part of the scenery itself as well. Again, it should be highlighted that this isn't a final build and it's still very much pre-alpha, so things like this might be picked up for the final release. Obviously the data is limited in some of the more rural areas, but we can see this waterline here and some very strange placed autogen too. The final video showed off was the DA40 that we saw earlier. This time it sat in the hangar. From what we can see in this few second clip is the PBR technology applied to the aircraft, giving off this impressive shine effect. Furthermore, if you look closely, you're going to see plenty of dirt and scratches and bumps applied to the fuselage itself. This appears to be rendered as opposed to painted on via the livery. You can also see each rivet in extensive detail. This would be very cool if Microsoft finally gave us the ability to have a persistent aircraft after we take it through treacherous weather conditions or we don't treat it right. Some have mentioned that this aircraft hangar type thing could be the loading screen, similar to how Forza does it if you're familiar with those products. So that's it in terms of assets. After 2 screenshots and 5 videos, Microsoft have really shown us some brand new details from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Along with that, they also showed us off their product development roadmap. Now it's broken up into a few sections, first starting with August. So this week we're going to see a new media update, and next week we're going to see the first official third-party update progress. Whilst this entails, we're not too sure, but hopefully many of our favourite developers will be able to come out of the woodwork to talk about more of what they have in store. Following on from that, we're going to be able to see a brand new media update on the 29th of August and also see new information regarding the build program. In September, this is where things start to get a little bit more exciting, with the first few weeks being a simple media update and a new build program timeline. However, at the end of the month, we're going to see something called the Discovery Series previews. These preview episodes will focus on various components of the sim, from the world, weather, aerodynamics, and the cockpit. They are just going to be previews at this point because in October, that's when the fun starts. October will see the first of the Discovery series released with Episode 1, The World. Following on from that, we'll see a further timeline update and also the opportunity for partners to potentially announce brand new products for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 and hopefully know a little bit more about the distribution. Beyond October, there's nothing else beyond this timeline, however, we're going to get updated in September. So from just a few videos, few screenshots that we've seen so far, there is plenty to get excited about from Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. What were some of your favourite features shown off? Perhaps it's the new aircraft, the new water engine, or even how the aircraft reflects off the windows. Whatever your opinion, would love to hear, so please do leave a comment down below. Please do make sure that you subscribe to FSElite for more Flight Simulator 2020 content, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and of course the website itself for the best Flight Simulator content. Thanks for watching, and see you again.